Well, I think I definitely buy it. I don't think it's that big of a stretch to believe that a team that is stuck in NBA purgatory, that is stuck right smack dab in the middle of just on the verge of being a playoff contender, just barely there in the last season, but not quite good enough to be considered one of the top four in your conference, yeah, they should consider any and all possibilities to improve this group and to maybe rethink the plan. That's not shocking. I think that it's frustrating when people hear AK is going to run it back and AK is going to find strength in the Denver example, and it's going to reinforce his belief that if you stay with the coach and you stay with the core, that you can win a championship one day just like the Nuggets did. I understand that philosophy, and we can even, we'll probably have to discuss that moving forward because I think that will be what they end up doing. But you know this, when you're trying to figure out solutions to problems, you've got to take a creative approach. This is a creative approach. I don't really care when they signed a contract and committed to Zach Lavine long-term as a max player. It's the NBA. You look around and max players are given up on quickly or they're being shopped regularly. Bradley Beal, 1 year into his deal in Washington, is trying to work out a deal, different circumstance, but same reality contractually. So absolutely, they have to do this. It wasn't a proposed specific deal. It's gauging interest. And this is what I would think falls under the category of due diligence and good for the Bulls.
Yeah, I think, David, you're right. I think due diligence is a good way to put it. But I'm guessing, just guessing, speculating. That's what I guess I do. This isn't going to sit well with Zach Lavine. I don't think Zach Lavine's going to want his name out there. I don't think he's going to appreciate that part of it, regardless of the business. He wants this to be his team. Talk about it all the time. Who should have the ball at the end of the game? DeMar or Zach? Vooch basically has them by the short hairs. They got to bring Vooch back, right? But if you're going to bring back Vooch, then why would you trade Zach? And what would make sense? Just throwing stuff out there. So the Trailblazers, who are looking to upgrade as well, like they want to try to win right this second, right? Would Zach Lavine for, let's say, Brandon Miller work out?
Well, I don't know that you can. I don't think you
can talk about. Would that be enough to get Brandon Miller from the Trailblazers?
Well, I think that you're talking about a high draft pick, right? So that would be the only way that you would make this deal.
Well, I was thinking like a sign and trade. Like on draft night, the Trailblazers draft Brandon Miller, and like the day after,
yeah, I know,
but
I think that's the kind of deal you're talking about. And then if you do that, I don't know about bringing Vooch back. I don't know, but I don't know if this story is contingent upon them bringing Vooch back.
But if you're not going to bring Vooch back, then you may as well trade Zach Lavine.
I think what's interesting about this is I would be disappointed if I didn't hear that the Bulls were looking at a Zach Lavine trade. Now, that's not an insult to Zach. That is just the reaction you have to the Bulls situation. So if you have someone, and by all accounts, they're asking for the world for the guy, but if you have someone that you think has value and you think is a good player, but you're locked into him and no one else, then maybe it's a really good idea. Maybe it is something that you've got to contemplate. They didn't trade Zach Lavine. How is Zach Lavine going to feel if his name comes up? Irrelevant. They are doing their due diligence. I would be heartily disappointed if I found out that they weren't talking to people in the league and trying to see what they can do. They've got to do something. I don't know that they need to trade him. I wouldn't want to see him traded for some trash players so they can start a rebuild. I would prefer to see like a really serious good deal. And I'm sure the only way they're giving up their lone asset or one of their few assets is by doing it in that fashion. But frankly, I mean, wouldn't it be awful to hear, the Bulls aren't talking to anyone? They're
exactly.
Not doing anything.
See, I think part of the wording of this, exploring or gauging interest.
Gauging interest.
Gauging interest means that you're doing everything from looking at veterans who you might have a different mix on your roster to what could we get? How high in the draft could we go? Because I have to tell you, after Wembanyama, I think that you look at Scoot Henderson, hypothetically.
Yes.
If Zach Lavine's part of a deal that gives you a position to draft him, then you're changing directions of your franchise. Then you're looking at maybe, a different focus of your team. But I don't think anybody in Chicago would mind that. I think everybody would understand that. If you're putting yourself in a position to draft somebody like that, okay.
He is not a very big player, but he's like a get the ball, go at the hole, do everything kind of guy.
He changes your complexion.
He would change the way you look, and he is a really good point guard. Hey, Brandon Miller is a guy that can make a lot of shots. That can. I'm just saying.
There's nothing about him on the floor that you don't like.
No, exactly.
Or that you don't see potential in.
And they were apparently talked to him and have
at the
interviewed
draft
him at
combine.
the draft combine. It is all about doing your job. And if Zach doesn't like it, play better. Beat Miami. Get into the play. I'm just saying.
Exactly, because the morning after he did everything that was possible, we identified him and anointed him. Boy, he is the clutch guy.
The changing of the guard.
Then he disappears.
Right.
In a key moment, in a key game. So I think those are the realities he has to face. That's why talking about it isn't bad. Mully, we've all been part of things. You know, when you have these meetings, whether it's at work or whatever, come into the room. There are no bad ideas.
Right.
There are no dumb questions. What do you think we can do? And maybe the Bulls.
People come up with bad ideas, and there are dumb questions. But I hear you
all the time. And trading Zach Lavine may end up being a bad idea and a bad response to a problem. But they've got to explore everything and anything when you're talking about getting better and taking that next step as an organization.
Absolutely. I mean, again, if they were not doing their jobs, then we could get mad about it. But the very fact that they're gauging interest, they should be gauging interest in everyone. They should be sitting in a room and have they should be coming up with whatever kind of idea, again, that you don't hatch all of them, but you try everything. You think through all of it.
And to Dustin's point, the Vooch decision doesn't have to be made until after you know what you're doing with Zach. And you're going to know what you're doing with Zach by the draft, because that's when all the action happens.
Yeah.
So by next week at this time, if the Bulls haven't traded Zach Lavine, they're not going to.
Of
you
course.
Would think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I again, it's not like Bulls actively trying to trade Zach Lavine. The Bulls are talking to everybody, and his name's come up, and they're happy to talk about it. Hey, by the way, hey, did I hear that right? You're talking about trading him? What would you give us? I think it's a legitimate. It is, in fact, I think it's incumbent upon them to do that.
And then the next question is, what would you give us for DeRozan?
Oh yeah,
because you've got to have that conversation too.
I think,
right?
I think you might have to move on from DeMar DeRozan just because of. I think he's a really good player.
I think it depends on what you do with Zach.
It's his age, and I think there's a lot of things that are involved in that, and he can still help a team. But I don't know that he can help you. I don't know how much better you can get.
What would you give us for Patrick Williams?
Well, I mean, again,
if you're, while you're on the phone,
I don't even think you need to. I think Patrick Williams. It's irrelevant whether you trade him or not. Can I put it that way?
It is, but
I just don't think you're going to get better or worse by that decision.
I'm just saying that these are the kinds of conversations that what one executive has with another. You broach these possibilities and you consider everything.
Again, this is to me a very important part of the offseason, looking at everything. I got no problem with it whatsoever. Okay.